everyone, and welcome to Thread Talks, a podcast where we talk all about the fashion industry and why it might be more important than you think, but less glamorous than it seems. In today's episode, we will be talking about why fashion industry sucks. Today's episode was meant to be something completely different, but I woke up in the morning and I look at myself in the mirror and I noticed that I have a weird square-like bruise on my face, which I think might still be there. So if my face looks a bit weird, that's why. And I remembered my mom, who once she turned a certain age, she started complaining that when she wakes up in the morning, or even if she took a nap, she just has her fingerprints all over her face because of how she lays down, and she's got wrinkles and all that. I'm 24. It should not be happening to me. And that little thing just does not want to disappear. I put makeup on it and it's still there. Then I put my mascara on and I bought a new mascara and it's not great. It draws and everything. It's really annoying. And I really wanted to complain to someone, but the only two people that are around me are men. Are men that are both younger than me, so obviously they just wake up and look beautiful. They don't know the struggles. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna record an episode and I can just complain to my female audience, because to be fair, when I looked at it, it's half and half. So to the female half of the audience, I'm complaining to you. You're my virtual friends, I guess. So I was thinking, how can I relate it to fashion? And then I remembered that I work in fashion industry, so I have a lot of reasons to complain. So in today's episode, we will be talking about why it sucks to work in the fashion industry. I think the first reason is how out of reality you are if you work in the fashion industry. I think this comes with every social bubble that you're in, because each of us have their own circle, and what is normal to you and in your circle is just normal to you and your circle, but then you don't realize that what is normal to you might not be normal to other people and all that. But I was watching a video today. It was a YouTube video. What else would it be? And this girl is, I think, 2 or 3 years younger than me. So I think she's 20. No, I think she just turned 23, but I'm gonna turn 25, so she's 2 years younger than me. And she, like, the video was called "I'm going to get a Botox," and I was like, what do you mean Botox? Like, where? Her face is literally like, I mean, I know that is a camera effect and all, but I was like, why is she getting filters? Because she legit has no, I could not pinpoint a point on her, like, anything about her face the way would she need a Botox, not filter Botox. And then she explained that she already had a lip flip, I think. She just had a Botox in her upper lip, and that's what she was gonna get again. But when I first read the title of the video, I was like, are people this young getting Botox? Like, what is going on? Because the thing is, she's a Czech YouTuber, and it might just be a thing for me, but I feel like it's more like the preventive Botox and everything. I know this is a thing, but I feel like it's more in America or in England. Like, lip fillers in England, very common thing, but it's not really in Czech Republic, and I feel kind of out of touch with it. I'm like, this doesn't include me, and it doesn't include my culture. But when someone who's Czech says, and someone who's younger than me says that they're gonna get Botox, I was like, huh? People actually do that? And then I realized, no, they don't. If I think about it, none of my friends back in Czech Republic, I have 2 friends group, girls from high school and girls from secondary, and I'm the only one who's in the fashion industry, and you can tell. Like, some of the parts of me, I'm like so... No, out of touch. I wouldn't say I'm out of touch, absolutely not. And it's not like I would be out of reality or I wouldn't deal with everyday problems as they do. Obviously I do, but I am more because obviously it's my job, and I, as a journalist, you have to keep up with the news and everything. So I do have to pay quite a big attention to social media, to trends and everything. So I am much more aware and much more in the mindset of certain things on social media that are obviously not normal, but for me they are, because I'm exposed to them much more, because I'm exposed to the virtual reality more than the everyday life, I would say. Well, no, that not really, but you get me. And my mom was asking me actually, how do I do it that I keep scrolling on Instagram and all, and I don't get affected? Because she was like, because she has Instagram as well, and she was like, sometimes I just see a woman and I'm like, oh my god, she's much prettier and her life is much easier. She's got a good looking husband and she seems so much wealthier. And to me, it does not really affect me all that much in this sense, because I am very well aware that that's not reality and that is just a very small amount of people who actually live like that, and I know a lot of people on social media lie anyway, so it doesn't affect me in this way. That's a thing. It doesn't make me upset and I don't feel like I should compare myself to them, but I also feel like the fancy lifestyle is much more common than it actually is, in a way, because I'm more exposed to it, because it's part of my job. And with that comes another point that I want to say, which is that in a lot of ways, because you work in the fashion industry and part of your job is very glamorous, it kind of make you feel like you should be always very grateful and that your life is amazing, which is obviously not the truth at all. My life is just as hard. Like, I deal with taxes and bills and shitty landlords and everything just as anyone else. It's just that sometimes I go to Fashion Week. Sometimes I go to a fashion show. I do get to look at beautiful clothes as a part of my job. I get to, write about fashion, which for me is amazing. I feel like a lot of people still believe that fashion journalism is this kind of Carrie Bradshaw sort of thing, or the Lost Prada, which is not. But it is not, but it is still more glamorous than most jobs or a lot of jobs. And because you get to do this, it's kind of like you kind of feel like your life is amazing, isn't it? But you still have, it is amazing in some ways if you enjoy it, but it's not always great. And obviously it does not, just because one part of your life might be sometimes glamorous, it doesn't mean that every other aspect of your life is amazing and then you're carefree and you don't have any worries in the world and any responsibilities. Like, for example, what can be hard for certain types of people, like I am, for example, I absolutely love writing. And I am an introvert. I like to be on my own. I like to be home and all. And sometimes, or in the fashion industry, you have to network. That is very essential. And sometimes for me, it's really hard. Like, I was invited to a fashion show the other day and I asked if I could bring a plus one, and they said yes, but my plus one couldn't make it in the end. So I went alone. And I remember I was standing in a queue in the entrance and everyone, I swear to God, everyone was in a group. Everyone knew everyone and I was just there alone. And I was like, I want to go home. So sometimes this part is really hard for me, and I am sure I'm not the only one, but I still want to be in the fashion industry, so I have to put myself in a situation that stressed me out. And just because the situation itself is glamorous, right? You're going to a fashion show, and it was amazing. It was a great fashion show. I really enjoyed it in the end. It's still hard, and I feel like I feel like it's much easier for your life to look amazing for the outside world, for other people, and then it's much harder for you to convince them that no, it's actually not that great. Like, yes, I have been to a fashion show, but I also have to deal with my landlord not doing his job. So a following point to this is that a lot of the times you feel like you should look good. And I think that can be fun and amazing, especially if you're a girl, anyone really, and if you like putting your makeup on and you like getting dressed up and all. But it can also be quite stressful, because I know there's many jobs where you have to be presentable and look a certain way, which is, that is normal. But I think in the fashion industry, there's more of a pressure on you being very stylish and, being very fashionable and just always looking great. I think it's very similar to the beauty industry, to makeup artists, because I've heard it from multiple makeup artists that they are often judged when they say they're makeup artists and they don't wear makeup at this very moment. Everyone's like, but you're not wearing makeup. I'm like, well, obviously. And I think with fashion it's very similar. Like, I think it's not actually the truth, but I feel like, I personally feel like when I say that I am a fashion journalist and I don't, I just wear a normal outfit, which is, jeans and t-shirt, whatever, which is that's why I wear majority of the time. Sometimes people look at me and they're like, really, you? And I think it's probably not even a real thing, but I personally, and I did notice, or I've heard it from more people, we feel more judged when somebody asks us what we're doing and we say, oh, I work in fashion, but at the moment that you're saying it, you just look like a, I don't know, just you're equally dressed as them and they are a lawyer or, I don't know, a shop assistant or whatever. And it's just kind of like, I feel like sometimes people judge you a little bit on like, oh, are you actually good at your job when, like, you know, how do you work in fashion when you're literally wearing the same thing as me? Which, I mean, I don't blame them. Again, I think it's more common that people judge you than for other professions, but I don't think it's as common as I feel like it is. But yeah, it can be hard sometimes to have the pressure on yourself that you very much create for yourself, but it's based on your previous expectations, experience. And also, another thing is that sometimes when you say that you work in the fashion industry, people assume that you're stupid. And I've had it before, actually. I had someone when I was working at a part-time job. We had an audit, and I worked as a barista, and we had an audit. And there was this older bloke. By older, I mean like in his 60s, I would say, who clearly has been doing the same job his entire life. And I was there with my mate who just graduated, and he was from Portugal. And this was in England, by the way. And this guy was asking us, I was like, oh, what's your names, blah, blah, blah. And at the beginning, he seemed really nice. But then he heard both of us have accents. And he was asking, oh, are you students? So we were like, yeah. Well, I was a student and he just graduated. I was like, oh, what do you study? And that's the thing. I was like, oh, I studied fashion media. And my friend studied music production, I think. Well, it was something with music. And the guy just kind of looked at us, and then he was asking about something, and I answered him. And he goes, oh, look at you, you're smart even though you study fashion. And I just looked at him, and I was like, I think this guy was a bit of a racist as well, because I think he made some quite like inappropriate comment on my friend being from Portugal. But like sometimes you get it. I had it before when I say that. Well, I did have it with one of my family members actually when I was, I think, 15 or 16, and I was in high school, and they asked me what I want to study in uni, because in Czech Republic I went to grammar school, and if you go to grammar school you kind of have to go to uni. And so he was asking me what I want to do, and I was like, oh, I want to do journalism. I was like, oh, I want to be a fashion journalist. And he looked at me, he was like, not really a fan. And I was like, you don't fucking have to be. And actually, I feel like it only now that I actually graduated, and I graduated from a university in a different country, and that obviously in a foreign language. Only now I feel like I'm getting the respect that I should be getting, to the equal respect to any other of my friends who studied anything else, you know, any other courses. So yeah, this can also be a bit hard to try to pursue a career in something that's so unstable and so small in a way, and it's really hard to get into while also being looked at that, you know, you're a bit of a dreamer or you aren't really smart enough. And I think that's not only a fashion industry problem. I think it's the same if you want to do film, or if you don't want to do music or acting, theater, anything, any sort of these artistic courses or artistic jobs. And that leads to the absolute best point, which means the worst point, and that is getting paid in the fashion industry, because you aren't most of the time. I have started making my way into the industry when I was, I want to say 16 or 17. I started writing a blog, and then my friend, who's a fashion journalist, no, who's a fashion model, she was scouted very at the same time as I started my blog, and then her agency had a modeling contest, and she was part of it. And I was like, oh, and she invited us, and I was like, oh, do you think it would be a problem if I wrote an article about it? And she mentioned it to the agency, and at the time the agency was starting as well, and they were like, oh no, that's amazing, she can come to the backstage, blah blah. So I came to the backstage, wrote an article about it, and started working with them for, I think, 4 years before COVID happened, and then I moved abroad and they stopped doing the contest, I'm quite sure. And I think my blog was fairly successful. It wasn't like big, but it was good enough. It was good enough to get me to England. And then I moved to England, actually started getting an education, and which was a big step as well, because if you If you know, Czech Republic is not the greatest place to work in fashion or study fashion because we don't have any fashion courses pretty much. We have a fashion design and that's about it, I think. I'm fairly certain that is about it. Anyway, so I moved to England and then I started working on fashion weeks and now I'm writing for a magazine. And in those 7 years of what I've been doing, of me doing it, I have not been paid once. If you want to work in the fashion industry, be prepared. You're not going to be getting paid for quite a while. And my mom, for example, and my friend as well, is absolutely baffled by the fact that I write for a magazine and don't pay me. And the magazine that I work for has a system where the editor-in-chief sends a list of the articles for like following month or following week, whatever. And first come, first serve, pretty much. So we just write down which one we want. And I haven't written anything in quite a while. I actually have to today, but I haven't written anything in a while because I just wasn't looking at my phone. And I would come like 10 minutes after she sent us the list, and every article would be gone. And my mom doesn't quite understand it because she was like, no one's paying you for this. And how come everyone's so eager to write? I'm like, well, because we have to have experience. Because I feel like in the fashion industry and in fashion journalism especially, probably fashion design as well, but I don't really know about that. But fashion journalism, you can be as talented as you as you want, and you can have as many experiences as you want. But unless you know someone, or unless you literally really, really, really worked your way up by writing and writing and writing for, I can imagine, many years, you can't make a living out of it. You will not be able, like, as I said, the Carrie Bradshaw days are over. You're not gonna, I genuinely do not understand how she was able to live in the luxury that she did when she literally only wrote one article on every Sunday or whatever her column was. Like, no, absolutely not. So that's probably the best, well, biggest irony of the fashion industry, because it's acting like it's such an amazing, glamorous, rich world when only the ones on the very, very, very top are actually living this life, this luxurious and rich life, because everyone at the bottom make no money, everyone in the middle makes some sort of money, and everyone on the top presents that everyone makes a lot of money. Is pretty much how it works. So I do it because I absolutely love it, and because I cannot imagine myself doing anything else in life. I'm physically unable to, so I will have to work my way up and make money on site in different ways, which sounds a bit dodgy, but not. But yeah, that's the truth behind the fashion industry, I have to say. I was gonna leave it at this, but I just remembered another thing it can be really annoying. It doesn't annoy me as much because I'm used to it, but everything's so last minute. There's a Prague Fashion Week going on in a week. Right? Today's Wednesday. It starts next Thursday. I still don't know if I'm going. And I was kind of starting to think that I'm probably not. But then I remember that I still can, because when I worked on a fashion week in London, I applied for it maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before. I think that's when we got the message that we can apply. And then it was literally, the fashion week started on Friday, I think. And it was Tuesday. And I still haven't heard anything. So I was like, oh, well, then I didn't get it. And then on Tuesday, I get a call from the girl who was hiring us. And she was like, yeah, so you're still available? I'm like, yeah, I am. And then I just got in. She was like, okay, see you on Friday. And I'm like, okay, great. And it's not like I was the last option, right? It's literally everyone was chosen on that Monday or Tuesday or whenever it was. So fashion industry is really, really last minute. If you know something a week prior, you're quite lucky, I have to say. So the bottom line is, if you want to work in the fashion industry, it's great, it's fun, but prepare yourself that you really, really have to love it. I remember, who was it? Emilia Clarke was saying that if someone wants to be an actor, if there is something else they think they might enjoy, she would recommend them to do that, because it's really hard to be an actress. And I would say same. If there's something else that you think you might enjoy, probably focus on that, and then make your way into the fashion on site and see how it goes. But if But if you have something else that you could focus on, do that, because it's really hard and you really, really have to love it. And I only am doing it because I really, really, really love it, and I've loved it since forever, really. But yeah, prepare yourself for not getting paid for quite a while, not being successful, celebrated, amazing, for the pressure of sometimes you might be called unintelligent or not good at your job because of the way you look. You will be judged on your look, not badly, but more than others, more than other industries, I would say, except for acting, but you get me. And be prepared to not anything, to just be available on the very last minute. My friend is a model and she can confirm. So yeah, I think that's all I've got to say for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you would like these, unscripted talking, just me complaining, because I like to complain. I can do it a lot, actually. So yeah, let me know if you like this type of episode, and bye-bye. Type of episode? Types of episodes. Type of episode. English. Why am I doing this in English? Why don't I do it in Czech? Because that would sound ridiculous. Kdybych to dělala česky, tak by to bylo ještě horší, než když to dělám anglicky, protože polovina výrazů o modě prostě v češtině neexistují, takže bych stejně mluvila napůl anglicky a celý svět by mě hejtil za to, že mluvím Czech English. So yeah, let me know if you enjoy these types of episodes, and if so, I might do them more often because it's fun and it's less work for me, to be honest. Probably not a less work from my editor, which is me and sometimes my boyfriend, but we shall see. We shall see how I feel about it when I edit it, or he. I don't actually know which one of us will edit it. Anyway, have fun. Good day. Have a good day.